Good evening, YouTube. You guys are now watching another segment of the TheCaliEffect, King of Games. If you guys are here for a Yu-Gi-Oh video, just stop right now. Go to a different video. This video has nothing to do with Yu-Gi-Oh! This video is to reach out for my core audience and for the people that want to know the man behind the camera, TheCaliEffect, also known as Leon. So if you guys are here for a Yu-Gi-Oh! video, I have awesome Yu-Gi-Oh! videos everywhere else except for this one, and anyone that says the story of the TheCaliEffect. So really hope you guys enjoy this video. For the people that are here to watch this video, and before we even get a little deeper to it, I just want to say I may be saying some things that may come off a little egregious or may offend some people, so you might want to come here with an open mind, or try to understand what I'm trying to convey, because obviously there isn't anything that I will want to do or say to offend any of you guys, but sometimes it may come off as that. Without further ado, there's also graphic content on this, as you can see through San Andreas. Without further ado, we're going to be talking about the very first time I have gotten some booty, some action. All right, so before we even talk about this, people get, people's first time, everybody's first time is different. So if you have not experienced your first time, don't even trip, man. I'm like, look, my first time, I thought I could be a monk. That's how, I don't want to say that it was bad, but that's how content I was with getting some. And I was like, oh, it's just this. So I'm not saying that sex isn't great, but I'm just saying, like, it's not something that you should be forcing or pressuring yourself into do. Just relax, man. Do what you got to do. Focus on what you got to focus on. If that girl comes around and she, you do it and you feel like it, it's the time right, do what you got to do. So my time was forced. It was back in high school. I was in the 9th grade. It was at Locke High School. Very awesome school, by the way. It's a pretty big school with a lot of open lots. It's almost like, I can't even really explain it because I don't know what you guys' schools are like. So you guys will probably have to Google Locke High School in Watts, California, and it's just a marvelously looking prison. So, I mean, literally, because it's like gates outside that cover the school, and then there's gates inside the school, and there's like a gate to get to every section of the school. It is literally, I should just call it Locke High Prison. All right, so we're inside of the school, or I'm inside of the school, and me and my boys, we always talked about how we always got something. That's the biggest thing I want to talk to you guys about. And growing up, I don't think there was a single boy that said that they were a virgin ever. Like, I just thought we were born non-virgins. If you guys asked us, we always got some. We were player ballers. We were not virgins. We always got some. And I think that was a pressure inside of society, because girls would always ask us, hey, such and such, or they would try to make fun of us. Oh, you're a virgin, blah, 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 ha, ha, ha. Knowing damn well that they were probably virgins themselves. It was kind of like a front thing, where I feel nowadays it's probably a little more different, seeing that, phones are out, like everybody has a phone now, and then there are a lot more easier ways for boys and girls to get in contact with each other now than as before, where I remember a couple of times that girls would be like, oh yeah, we're gonna do such and such and so and so, meet me here at this time and this day, and I'd be there that time and that day, and that wouldn't happen. So again, social media and phones have definitely changed the landscape, but I'm not saying that people are more freaky. I'm just saying people have more access. But everybody back then claimed that they weren't a virgin, but I promise you, most of us were. Unless you were pregnant, which there were a couple of pregnant people, you were a virgin more than likely, at least in my book. So I met this girl named Shorty, and she was a lesbian. Now, the reason why I say lesbian is because she liked the dangly too. But she ain't want to tell nobody. She dressed up like a boy. She acted like a boy. She did everything like a boy. But she was a very pretty Mexican girl. We call her Shorty because you won't believe she was pretty fucking short. And if I had to judge her on a scale between 1 through 10, when she had on girl clothes, I mean, I think I'm one of the only people to see her with girl clothes on. She was probably a nice 6.5, and I grade pretty harshly, just to let you guys know. With her boy clothes on, she was like a 5. I mean, that's just how it is. And a 5 still isn't that bad for having boy clothes on. That's still pretty good. She was a very attractive little lady. Now, she had this girl that she was always trying to get with named Christian. And Christian was, she wasn't ugly at all. But Christian wasn't what we would call a dime piece, okay? You know what I mean? Dime pieces, or what we would call girls that just had it. Got the boobs, got the booty, got the looks, just everything. Christian didn't really have a lot of everything. She was a short black girl I want to say maybe C-size boobs. She had a nice little booty, you know what I mean? She was working with a little, she definitely wasn't ugly, but like I said, she wasn't a dime piece. And little did I know Christian had some type of attraction to me. So this is how oblivious I was growing up. Me and Christian we would have conversations, and her name is Christian, right? So in the back of my head, I'm like, Christian is a boy's name. Why aren't you named Christina? And I just couldn't fathom who would name their child Christian when they can name her Christina. So I would make fun of her for it, and she'd be like, I'm not a girl, I'm not a girl. Plot twist, if any girl laughs at stuff like that, they fucking like you, all right? Or they're just very kind. They still send mixed signals at that time, but your percentage of them feeling that they like you should go higher. If they're not offended by you calling them a boy, then they probably like you. I would always make fun of her, and I'll call her a boy, and she'd be like, oh, nah, you should come find out. You should come find out. Type of shit, I'm telling you, back when I was growing up, we were all fronters. We'd all say shit like that. But little did I know Christian was very serious. So one day after school, we got out of school like at 3. It was probably like 5 or 6 o'clock. I'm just kicking it at the school. You know, we chilling, me, Christian, and Shardy. And Christian, I guess she had enough of me calling her a boy. She was like, so, I know you a virgin. My response was, what you mean? I got bitches all the time. I be getting it, bro. I'm a savage. I got these girls on lock. And she was like, then how come I don't ever see you with girls at the school? And bro, immediately when she says that, because I normally either don't tell anybody because I hit it, play Yu-Gi-Oh in the back with a whole bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh card players. Hey, there's that Yu-Gi-Oh reference. Or I was somewhere around the school not to be seen with girls. So she caught on the fact that I was never around a girl unless it was her, Shorty, and a couple of the girls that could be considered just friends. So she had a hunch going on that I ain't getting no pussy. And I was like, yeah, bro, I get pussy all the time, bro. My main bitch, she go to Fremont High School, which is a high school that was kind of far down. Wasn't too far, but it, you know, obviously was a different high school. She was like, all right, what's her name? So obviously I made up a name. I made it up on the spot, so I felt pretty good about myself. At that time, I thought that she was somewhat convinced. So I felt that I was in the good. So she was so convinced, she said, okay, you're not a virgin? Prove it. And I'm like, what do you mean prove it? I mean, like, we're in the middle of a high school. You know that, right? I'm pretty sure if I put my pants down, there's some type of offense. And I'm pretty sure, you know, seeing that there's a daycare across the street, that's a whole nother type of offense. And I'm not trying to have that. Now, obviously, in the back of my head, I should have thought before I said something, because in the back of her mind, I'm pretty sure she knows that, yeah, something going on. Why do you need to show your penis for you to confirm that you're a virgin? She was like, no, I want you to show me. I want you and me to have sex. Now, she obviously didn't say it like that, but immediately that's what happened in the back of my head. I'm like, boom. I'm like, she really wants to have sex with me. So, of course, I have to play the, oh, yeah, I'm a pimp. I'm a baller. I'm a boss. If you want some, yeah, shorty, you can come get some. In the back of my mind, I am screaming, what the fuck are you doing? Leon, get the fuck out of there. Do something. Have something happen. Do not let this girl find out you are a virgin, because the second that she finds out that you are a virgin, the whole world gonna know. And once the whole world know, nigga, you are done. Your possibility of getting pussy is gone. It is zero. Once every girl in high school finds out you are a virgin, they are not going to want to have anything to do with you. At least that was my mind of thinking back then, which is why we never said we were virgins. So I'm like, nah, man. She was like, okay, so if you want to do it, we'll just do it where you do your other girl at. And that's where she had me. Because she said that I previously had sex before with another girl and I do it all the time, I had a designated place. And fortunately, I did have a designated place. And I was like, yeah, my sister's house. Now, my sister's house wasn't necessarily her house. It was my mother's house, but she moved in with her boyfriend to a rat shack down the street. Well, beside the point. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, and it looked, well, it wasn't gorgeous, but it was still a very nice house. My sister stayed there, her boyfriend, and her kid. So obviously one of the bedrooms were pretty much occupied, and I tended to leave my stuff at the other bedroom because I didn't want to go stay with my mother and her creepy boyfriend. So I was like, cool, I'll show you where it is, or I'll show you where the spot is. So this place is across the tracks, up the street, and I want to say a good 10-minute walk. So throughout the whole time, I am literally thinking in the back of my head, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get away from this? How does it, how does, who, how? Just, this doesn't make any sense. If I actually, you know, do this, then I'm not a virgin anymore, which is great, But how do I show her that I'm not a virgin before I'm not a virgin? That's just crazy. So we are walking down there, and Shorty is obviously with us. Shorty is a little gangster chick, and I am telling you, she is probably heated at this point in time because she wanted to get inside of Shorty before anybody did. And she wasn't too happy with that. I was like, cool, I can use this to my advantage. We finally get to the place, and my sister opens the door. I'm like, fuck, I was expecting someone not to be there. My sister opens the door, and I'm telling you, my sister is the most awesome sister in the world. Not only is she perfectly fine with me having 2 girls at the house, she's smoking right now. So I'm like, perfect. If she smokes and they smoke, they'll probably get high and forget about the whole situation. Everybody likes a good time, right? So Shorty obviously was like, oh yeah, I smoke, so let's smoke. Christian doesn't smoke. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't smoke? She was like, I just don't think it's a good habit, such and such, so-and-so, not a fun thing to do. And I'm like, bitch, why don't you smoke? Maybe you should smoke and forget about this. In the back of my head, of course. So I'm like, okay, cool. She doesn't smoke, but I know how to stop her. We get into my room. Christian sits on my lap. And obviously, I go from 0 to 100 in the area. That guy should know where 0 to 100 goes. And my sister comes in. She, you know, she finishes rolling up the blunt or whatever. She gets Shorty, and they leave. And I'm like, hold on, sis. Let me get some of that. Now, my sister looks at me with the most dumbfounded face of all time. But obviously, she doesn't understand that I'm crying for help and that she needs to do something to fix this situation instead of handing me the blunt. She knows damn well I don't fucking smoke. But in the back of her head, I have genuinely believe that she thinks that I am trying to impress this girl. So she hands me the blunt. Now I have the blunt in my hand. And my sister looking at me like, nigga, is you go smoke and pass it back? And then the other girl looking at me with some type of look. And I'm like, you know what? If I smoke this blunt, maybe she won't have to have sex with me. So I take the longest drag. I go... Let it go out your nose and everything. Just lay back, relax. Now, I didn't smoke weed at that time, but I have seen enough people smoke weed to understand what is going on. I take that long of a drag, let the smoke come out. I think I'm just cool. I think I got the bull thing going on. It just come out. I'm just... Then a little... Like that. And I offer it to her. I'm like, you sure you don't want any? Sorry about that. I'm like, you sure you don't want any? She's like, she has her own face covered, like, so I'm like, cool. She don't even want to have sex with me now. I know she don't. This finna be a breeze. So I give the blunt back to my sister. She closes the door. I go to sit down again. She hops back on my lap and starts kissing me. And I'm like, I thought that this weed would work. So now, not only am I a little high, which I've never been in my life at that point in time, I'm also about to do something that I have never done before in my life and don't want to let someone know that I've never done it. This is probably the worst time of my life right now. And it possibly should be one of the best to be, I mean, high off weed and getting something for the first time. It should be the best. So we wound up both getting naked and I'm looking at what I believe is a vagina because, you know, it's supposed to be a vagina. I'm like, oh, so you are a girl. And this is the first time I've seen a vagina in real life. Or the first time I've seen a mature vagina. I mean, like, back when you're kids, that's a different story. But still, this is the first time I have seen a vagina, like, face-to-face in a very long time at the very least. And it's not on a porno. And I'm like, huh, that's what they look like. This is fascinating. My first instinct was to put my mouth on it, but I was like, no, that's not how we roll. And I was like, you know what? I don't even have a condom. This fucking bitch, she goes into her pants in her back pocket and pulls out a condom. And I'm like, well, looks like we're going to do this thing. So after 5 minutes of trying to take off the condom, she takes it off. And then an additional 5 minutes of trying to put on the condom, she puts it on. I realize that she is a pro by that time. Or at least someone that has had some type of experience. And then she looks at me with that face. She's like, are you going to stick it in? So look, I know this is going to sound weird, but the best way to put a penis into a vagina is to put it in the hole. All right? That was the hard part. So you just lay it down, and that's what I did. Bam! And I'm like, all right. So immediately she grabs it and she puts it in the hole. I'm like, good. Because if I had to find out how to do this shit, it wouldn't have, it wouldn't have been good. So we in there, and I'm fucking. I'm like, all right. And then 5 strokes later, I'm like, all right. And it happened. So I'm looking down. She's looking up. And I'm looking at her. And she's looking at me, looking at her. And I'm looking at her, looking at me, looking at her, looking at me. And then I'm looking down. I'm like, not 5 strokes. Not 3 seconds. No, please, please. So I make the ultimate decision. So back when I was younger, I used to masturbate. And I felt that masturbating would increase my stamina so I wouldn't be in this position. But I also realized that there was only one way to increase stamina: to run when you're tired. So that meant to masturbate even when it hurted. And it hurted. So I looked down at my penis and I was like, I would train for this. Years and years of struggle, years of solitude, years of pain. I have trained for this. I rammed that motherfucker right back in. And I'm like, we are going back in this bitch. Hit it again and we're going at it. Like, I'm serious. I am destroying that shit. I'm like, oh, thank you. Practice actually worked. Now, for the stamina thing, no, it didn't work. But to be able to go through pain, yeah, it works for that point in time. And I know that's kind of like just a weird story, but that's the truth. So I am literally mid-stroke into like my 450th stroke. Yes, I was counting or some shit like that. And my sister walks in. I have no idea why she thought that if she left me in a room with a girl that we wouldn't be doing anything. I mean, they went off to go smoke and, well, yeah, I guess she does have a point. I was a virgin at the time. My sister walks in. I am mid-stroke, about to go back in. I turn around. She turns around. We make eye contact. I'm flipping out. First thing I do, I pull out. She's like, I'm like, and she closed the door. And I'm like, whoa, that was a good time. I put on my clothes and everything. She puts on her clothes. Comes out, my sister's like, you nasty, such and such and so-and-so, doing what big sisters do. Like, so y'all dating or whatever? And I was like, she was like, no. I was like, lady, you just took my virginity. I just gave you some bomb dick, and don't say that I wasn't, because you was all over and shit. And you gonna tell me that no, you was dating? Come to find out that she actually had a boyfriend, and that's why she told my sister no, they weren't dating, because her friend is the one that told her she was dating someone else, so it would have looked awkward, even though that she didn't know that the friend already told her, and she knew. All right, look, that's what I came to find out later. Her boyfriend, God, here's the second part to the story. It's the next day of school, right? I found out that she had a boyfriend. We've been talking and flirting and doing that whole little game for quite some time. So I'm feeling like I should kind of, like, we can be cool and everything. We still talk. We still kick it. She still make references. She's like, oh, yeah, let's do it again, such and so-and-so. And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to save myself for someone that's my girlfriend. At least in the back of my head, I'm saying that. And then I'm like, since I went through it already, I was like, I don't think pussy's like, I don't think the amount of intense pressure that I went through to get some, pretending that I've already had some, and then doing stuff that I normally wouldn't do, smoking weed and all that other shit, was worth me doing it again. So I was like, you know what? I think I can become a monk. I'll be perfectly fine with not having sex again ever, period, because that's just too much stress, or at least until I got my own place, I'm married and some other shit. So remember when I was talking about how my boys were always virgins and everything? Well, one of my boys' name was FaZe. He had well, we called him FaZe. His name was Rayshawn. He had another friend that was, I guess they were friends like way, way, way back in the day. And that friend was Christian's boyfriend. So I meet this guy, and Christian comes up to him after I finish meeting the guy. Christian comes up to him, kisses him, holds his hand. Now, this dude is like fucking, if I'm 5'4", this dude's like 6'8". This dude's fucking giant. He's huge, all right? I felt like he could dunk without jumping. He just, obviously he's not that tall, but he was fucking tall. And I'm like, fuck, if he finds out that I didn't fuck his bitch, it's going to be some problems. Literally, you got to look up there and you got to think. And I hope that my thoughts didn't get too high for him to hear it, because, yeah, this guy was a really cool guy, and we grew to be pretty decent friends over that course of the time. And I had to kind of distance myself from Christian because, you know, like, your homie is your boyfriend is my friend. Like, that wasn't, I didn't even know you had a boyfriend at the time. This is just, you know, I just couldn't take it. So it got to a point in time, I'm like, I gotta tell him. You know what I mean? I gotta tell him. So I walk up to him like, hey man, I got some real shit to talk to you about. I was like, I fucked your girl. And of course, me at that time, I realized that, now looking back, I realized that I probably shouldn't have told him. Just for the sheer reason that how I said it and the situation that it wasn't the appropriate time at that time to tell him. When I told him, he didn't necessarily get mad or anything. I was expecting him to fucking take his hammer fist and then just hammer a Don on me, and I wasn't going to expect. At the very least, I expected him to stump me out like the ant that I rightfully so was. He didn't get mad. What he did is he got mad at her. And they wound up, I think he wound up distancing himself from her. I'm not sure if they broke up or anything. But she took this whole entire incident out on me. She took her lying, cheating, connivery out on me. And I'm like, my nigga, you the one that did the cheating. Like, that's crazy. But that didn't go out so well. What she wound up doing was telling other girls about me snitching, and that costed me a lot of opportunities. I remember there was some bad bitch, and I knew she had a boyfriend, but I didn't care. It was like she was bad. She was a dime. Like, remember when I said she was a dime piece, and she was like, yeah, you cute and everything, but I heard that you was a snitch, so I ain't fucking with you. And I was like, bruh, how can you do this to me? How? I done missed out on some good pussy. It wasn't even necessarily that it was good pussy. It was the fact that she was just really good looking. Or at least to me at the time. And that actually played a part to her not liking me and her having some type of resentment towards me. And now that I look back at it, I kind of don't blame her, but at the same time, I was like, nigga, you was cheating. Like, come on now. She was in the 11th grade. The next year I was in, well, not even the next year, I'm sorry. I think she was in the 12th grade then. Or I'm sorry, later in the year, we wound up, she wound up forgiving me and everything. She was like, you know what? I'm not really mad at what happened. I'm just kind of mad. I'm mad that you told, but at the same time, I shouldn't have been doing that. I gotta be a better person to that. And then it goes like, when you gonna let me get some again? She was like, no, just, you had a chance, but I just, I feel betrayed. And I was like, damn. Well, that was my first time having sex. I felt that it could have been, it did open up avenues. So, remember the girl that I was talking about, Shorty? We wound up doing some things. And that's why I say she's not gay. And she had another friend that was a singer. And we wound up doing some things. We actually wound up breaking into the school, or breaking into the, okay, so it were like bungalows outside. And I was a really good pickpocket, so I knew how to open the doors. And then sometimes she would actually just unlock the window. So when the school's out or everything, we break inside the door and we do what we got to do, and then, call it a day. It did lead to those opportunities or whatever. But if I were to change it, I think I would have, I would have probably saved myself for a time that, that meant something, because that was just sex. Anytime you guys go out there and, after you have your first time or whatever, it's just sex. It means literally nothing, especially for a guy. For a woman, I hear that every time a woman has sex, it's a lot different. But for guys, putting our dick in anything, I mean, literally, it's just sex. So you want your first time and your most important time, hopefully when you have a kid or when you get married, to actually mean something. And I felt that I wasted my first time on paranoia, drugs, and just a whole bunch of weird shit. Now, like I said, there was some great that came out of it. First of all, I was the first one in the group that wasn't a virgin. Secondly, it did lead to other opportunities with some bad bitches, how I be, bro. And they ain't really care that, because some of them didn't have boyfriends or whatever. And then thirdly, it taught me a very valuable lesson. Fuck bitches, get money, man. I'm out.